Honestly, who could have expected the anime that took the summer season by storm to be about a game that had completely flopped its launch and pretty much lost all of its clout by the time the anime itself rolled out. But here we are, where an insert song from the anime has gotten over 18 million hits since its release. Honestly, a song that made us go from this
I couldn't wait for you to come and clear the cupboard.
to this.
Now you're gonna leave it nothing but a sign.
The game itself has also made a resurgence and has seen 2 million more sales since its release. Kinda looks like this guy here was right. Wait, someone from Twitter was right? God damn, I did not expect anything from this anime. We were all aware of the disastrous launch of the game Cyberpunk. There was some fun parts in there, it still looked amazing when it wasn't glitching. Fucking console players completely raw. So, when I hear of this again a couple years later, in the form of an anime, I really thought it would go the way a lot of anime adaptations of games tend to go. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy. But, would you look at that? I was completely and utterly surprised by what was seen in the anime. Honestly, from the first scene, from where we see the main character, David, walk through the city, we were quickly introduced to just what kind of place it was. Players of the game might have felt as if they were transported into Night City itself. Even if the game wasn't successful in keeping its players around, there was a certain aesthetic flair and caretaking to the looks of the game. Little tidbits of lore and newspapers which showed news as if it was a truly living, breathing world. However, it was only within the anime itself it truly became alive, with its own colourful cast, its own story, all set within the same world. A city in which there's 1,000 dreams rising up, but there's really only one true top. 1,000 paths lead to 99 falls. For many living in Night City, it's merely a race to the bottom, and this is twice as true for these Edgerunners. So, we get our protagonist, the boy without a dream of his own, David Martinez. His life takes a turn for the worst, and he ends up installing a piece of high-grade military tech to his spine. A lot of cool explosions and gun battles happen after this, but honestly, I don't even think it's about that. Okay, it's a little bit about that, but the underlying message of the story had sat with so many people across the internet. I'd been deliberating over this show, listening to its sounds again and again. Discords were filled with messages about it, YouTube was completely filled with comments about it, and many videos are being released day by day. We're all entranced by the anime. It stuck to us after watching it, and some more than others. You okay there, bro? Honestly, I can only really speak for myself. It was one of the leitmotifs of the story that had stuck out to me. We're introduced to such a rich cast, and from the get-go, we're shown them one dream at a time. Gloria Martinez, the mother of David. Her dream is to simply see her son climb to the very top of Arasaka Tower, to live a better life than they are living now. The sheer toil she puts into her day-to-day life to see him be able to live out that better life, and the lengths she will go to in order to make sure he's able to do so. But just as well, she was claimed by Night City. Her dream for her son would die alongside her. There's no real childcare in a corporate-run city after all. Maine, a character who takes on a mentor role in the life of David, the leader of his group, a man who initially appears to be ruthless and cold. As expected of a veteran Edgerunner, but the longer we see the man, the more we realise our initial impression was alright. A simple dream of glory, with the inability to properly see it through due to a heart that seems to match his size. The eventual fall that comes from that, and what leads to potentially one of the best singular self-contained episodes I've ever seen for a long time in anime. Maine's role in the story was truly amazing, gripping and jaw-dropping once we'd reached the end of his life. Finally, there's Lucy, who had an ethereal start to the anime. From the shots of the outline of her hair she passes by, which had captivated David on first sight enough to have him run up a flight of stairs. On the train, which had him looking around as if he had seen a ghost, almost as if he was drawn from her for simply catching 2 glimpses of her. The moment in which we learn of a true dream to go to the moon, the great scene that spanned from it, and where I think most of us also found ourselves really connecting with the anime for real. That or the martial arts scene. I haven't seen someone catch smoke like this for a minute. But as for the second most connected scene, it really was a beautiful shot. The floatiness of the hair, the song that played, and the joy that seemed to be experienced by the two of them. And us, the audience. It was truly an amazing scene that took my breath away, for a moment, allowing us to forget the horror of the setting in which they live in. However, that was a short-lived joy, but the dream that was born and the relationship between the two acts as the backbone of the entire series. No, the idea of dreams became the backbone of the series right here, and that song was the very anthem of it. But David, he has no dream, none to speak of. He had his mother's dream to push him forward at the start, Maine's dream to push him forward partway through, and Lucy's dream to push him through the entire length of the relationship and the rest of the series. But in this city, only one path to the top could exist. That is a job as a corpo, a suit, an up-and-coming exec is the life that many dream of. To rise to the top of Adasaka Tower. It doesn't matter what type of life you live, anyone in the city lives under their thumb. While fixers might well be linked to other organisations, even they seek out a life at the top of this tower. Rising up the tower, gaining power, any dream one might desire, isn't this?
塔の頂上にはこの世のすべてがあり、この世界を手に入れられる。
Alright, I'll stop now. The goal of becoming a successful executive is one we've seen from the very beginning. But that isn't the life of David. His mother's dream came to an end early on. The life of a cyberpunk, an edgerunner, is one that leads downward into the black market deals, into crime, into murder, and if one is successful, to death. Maybe one will be rewarded with a drink in their name. As one follows that path, continually covered in more and more blood, glory can only be seen as being covered in much, and falling even lower, as the machinations of great corporations cover the characters, driving the plot in the background and leading them towards a railroad track, towards a tragic ending. Even after watching the anime, I couldn't help but wonder what the point was behind telling us such a story. Of those underneath being crushed by the great Taro Corporation, was it a means to introduce us into the cruelties of the world? Was it supposed to make us simply look into the game to right some wrongs? Was it simply supposed to elicit feelings of sadness? I thought about it for a good while, but it hit me as I rewatched the last few episodes again. The ending. Everyone aimed for the top. Everyone except for David. He didn't care about things like that. He was worth nothing even to himself. He was happy to live out the dreams of others. He saw it as his responsibility, and he filled himself with those hopes as if they gave him meaning. This was what truly stood out to me in the end. He had been completely willing to sacrifice himself, right until the end, but not taking it lying down. He had been willing to see his end through while fighting with everything he had. That was what truly struck me about the ending, not going along with the whims and wishes of a cruel evil slave. It wasn't that he had gone along with the flow, given up, knowing it was hopeless. Anything else. He saw the city for what it truly was. He knew just how things would end up, and even then, he made the choices that he did, so that Night City couldn't have anything. Even if Night City always won, because Night City always won. Because even if down is the only way that exists for those on the bottom rung, for the petty criminals, the cyberpunks, the net runners, and for the street rats with 3 dreams to carry. Even if it is simply a fall to see who can reach the bottom first, no matter how fast you go down, there's always a chance to go down swinging. And that might well open the doors for one more path, to another top, a far higher top.